All right, welcome everybody to the Lakers Legacy Podcast, where South Bay Lakers, how about things have gone south? The Lakers don't have their Bay Lakers. And by Bay, I mean BAE, biannual exception. Or maybe the Beal AE. But anyways, don't worry about it. Don't worry, calm down. The world is not crumbling. The Lakers actually do still have their BAE, and they can still easily open up the full amount. So just breathe, sit back, and let me explain. I'm your host, Jonathan Hernandez, and today I am joined by no one. I'm doing another solo pod. Tommy is still on paternity leave for the foreseeable future. Give him a shout out. But with that said, today we are going to go over the Lakers' current cap books in more detail, and I'll explain their BAE situation and why I don't think it's a certainty that they use their BAE or even make a roster consolidation trade anytime soon, at least before training camp. And I'll explain more in a second. I mentioned it at the top of the show, but if you guys want to ask any questions, please hit me up with a super chat and I'll address them as they come on the spot. I would greatly appreciate it. Otherwise, I can take a look back at the end of the show and address any questions that I find that are compelling if I didn't cover them through my whole spiel. So let's take a look at my updated cap sheet. As you can see, Jackson Hayes re-signed to his typical raise. So this was something that I had not sort of accounted for. I thought the Lakers would just give him his typical, I thought the Lakers would re-sign him to the veteran minimum contract. I did not realize that giving him a raise off of a veteran minimum contract from the prior year would not count as the typical $2.3 million that a normal veteran minimum signing would count for any other scenario. But since Jackson Hayes got his raise from last season, his full $3.45 million counts on the Lakers books as it pertains to the first apron. And so that is where all of the hullabaloo last night came from with regards to the final amount of Jackson Hayes coming out. Because he is, instead of being 2.3 on the books, Jackson Hayes' actual number is now 3.4. And because of that, if you look at my cap sheet, I've already gone ahead and taken Shake Milton out. And even with Shake Milton off of the Lakers books, because Jackson Hayes is making $3.4 million, that leaves the Lakers right now, without the BAE, they're about $3.9 million below the first apron of 195.9. If we include the BAE, or let's say the Lakers want to use the BAE, they can't use the full amount of $5.1 million currently because that would bump them past the first apron. And so right now they can use about, 3.85 of the BAE and still be below the first apron, but they can't use the full $5.1 million amount. And so I know there was a lot of hysteria as usual. Day 6 of free agency hysteria and what the hell has Rob done to this team last night, although it did come out today that Jackson Hayes apparently agreed to waive his implicit no trade clause. This is the same thing that happened with D'Angelo Russell when he opted into his contract. He waived that clause. So much Adou Thiero about nothing on July 3rd when everybody was losing their freaking minds about this implicit no trade clause for Jackson Hayes, which, by the way, I covered this, but even if he hadn't waived his no trade clause, wouldn't have mattered. Lakers can just cut Jackson Hayes. Lakers can use another minimum salary if they need the salary ballast in a bigger trade. And so I guess the new outrage last night, the new Pelinka outrage last night was Pelinka apparently not knowing how much under the first apron the Lakers are. How could he have signed Jackson Hayes to above the veteran minimum? Doesn't he know that he's relinquished the full BAE? And to all that, I'd say, guys, Pelinka and his team know this. Like, I know he's not a good GM by any means, but let's not act like we have no idea, or let's not act like he doesn't know his own books. Let's not act that he didn't intend to sign Jackson Hayes and his agency, same agency of Luka Doncic and DeAndre Ayton, that he didn't intend to give Jackson Hayes his standard raise that you give anybody returning to your team. So anyways, much ado about nothing. This is currently where the Lakers stand. I do think that Rob Pelinka gave Hayes this raise, not only because it's just standard practice for anybody who's returning to your team, especially for the third year, but also because, yes, Jackson Hayes' agent is the same as Luka Doncic's agent and DeAndre Ayton. They all share the same agent. This is the natural cost of doing business. This isn't a specific, damn, Rob Pelinka problem. Everybody does this. And now let's get into what the Lakers can do to free up the BAE. I'm sure Yosi has gone over this. I'm sure some of you popped into Yosi's guest spot on Anthony Irwin's show earlier today. I didn't watch it, so I mean, trust him over me, obviously. But currently, if the Lakers did want to open up the full BAE, all they would have to do, let's say they don't do any sort of roster consolidation trade, because those are hard to pull off. And as you guys know, teams are strong arming Rob Pelinka this offseason. Before we signed DeAndre Ayton, they were strong arming Rob Pelinka for any sort of big, probably asking for like a first round pick to trade for Nick Richards. But anyways, in order for the Lakers to free up the full $5.1 million BAE, because right now they are about $1.2 million off of it, in order to free that full amount up, they would just need to, unfortunately, waive Jordan Goodwin or non-guarantee his contract and let him loose. So there it is. The Lakers have the full BAE amount. Now, the other option is if you want to keep Jordan Goodwin. Oh, also, I should mention, if they waive Jordan Goodwin and sign someone to the full BAE, the Lakers would only have 14 guys. So they would probably go into the season with one open roster spot, because if they use the full BAE amount after a Jordan Goodwin waive, they would pretty much be right up against the first apron. And yeah, they wouldn't be able to sign even another veteran minimum guy. So I guess that's the cost of, trying to open up the full MLE. Let's see. So obviously the other route that the Lakers can take, besides waiving Jordan Goodwin, would be to try and salary dump a guy like Gabe Vincent or Maxi Kleber, or ideally both, to a team that has cap space, like the Brooklyn Nets. I think the Wizards have all the rosters filled, but the Brooklyn Nets would be the prime candidate. But I'll explain why I don't think a roster consolidation trade is necessarily coming. But first, let's stick on this topic of the BAE, because I also don't think that the Lakers were planning to use the full amount. And if they were, I'm pretty sure, just like the DeAndre Ayton, Jake LaRavia chicken or egg thing, where people were freaking out that Jake LaRavia was signed first, and why hasn't the DeAndre Ayton signing been announced? God damn it. When people were freaking out about that, I'm pretty sure they know what they're doing. I'm pretty sure they have their contingency plans. So with regards to the BAE, though, I don't think they're going to use it. And let's quickly look at the options at our disposal for the BAE. Let me bring this up. 1 second. Sorry, technical difficulties, guys. Oh, whoops. Wrong page. All right, here we go. Let me try and make this. Okay, that's a little better. All right, so I have brought up this little cheat sheet of BAE-worthy players. It doesn't necessarily encapsulate everybody, but it's like the players that came like first to mind. So Al Horford right now is contemplating retirement, so I don't even know if he's an option for the BAE anymore. So really, the world and the rest of the free agency, or the rest of the free agency world, kind of waits with bated breath on what the hell Bradley Beal is going to do, who he's going to sign with, when he gets bought out, how much he's going to get bought out for, etc. So outside of Bradley Beal, the Lakers don't really have, there are not many players worth giving the BAE for. It's Bradley Beal. I know Ben Simmons wants a BAE. Do the Lakers want to even sign Ben Simmons? Probably not. I read somewhere that the Lakers may be interested in Malcolm Brogdon, but this part of the summer they're interested in everybody. So if you're looking at this list, and I'll read the list out for the podcast listeners later: Bradley Beal, Al Horford, Ben Simmons, Malcolm Brogdon, Amir Coffey. I feel like you can even get Amir Coffey for the veteran minimum. Chris Boucher, Precious Achiuwa, DeAnthony Melton. I feel like those last three names could possibly be had for the veteran minimum anyways, because given their amounts of service in the NBA, they'd already be making like past $3 million on the veteran minimum exception. So, 2.1 isn't anything to kind of turn your nose at. But yeah, that's not a great list of players to use. That's not a great list of players that are left on the table who I feel like the Lakers should absolutely move heaven and earth for to use the BAE. And Vinny, thanks for the super chat. I will make sure to address it very shortly. So yeah, because of that, I don't think the Lakers are going to use this BAE. If Bradley Beal gets bought out and he agrees to sign with the Lakers, I think one, the Lakers will try and convince him to sign for $3.9 million because he's going to get a whole lot of money anyways. And two, if they really need to open up that extra $1.2 million to make use of the full BAE, they'll be able to easily do that by just waiving Jordan Goodwin. And so that's why I don't think that the Lakers are in a rush to make the moves that people think that they need to make to open up the BAE unless they have their target set, if that makes any sense. And then the other thing is, and I've mentioned this in a prior show, the reason why I don't think the Lakers are going to use the BAE this season is because I think barring a Bradley Beal, Al Horford, Ben Simmons, Malcolm Brogdon signing for the BAE, barring those things, I think it may be worth it for the Lakers to take their BAE, bring it into the season, and use it as a traded player exception. Because this is really the time of the offseason. There is no rush to do anything. I know Lakers fans don't want to hear this, but patience is a virtue during this time of the offseason. Because if the longer the Lakers wait at this point, who are the Lakers waiting on right now? Who do they desperately need to sign that's not going to be available for them in a week's time? Because the longer they wait, the larger the pool of random buyout guys, the larger that pool of buyout guys gets. Like, who knows? Maybe right before training camp, that's when Marcus Smart asks for a buyout. Maybe even Kelly Olynyk asks for a buyout. That is my dishwasher in the background doing that little jingle. Anyways, so I'll actually bring up some buyout options, guys I could see potentially being bought out that the Lakers could, if they wait to make the moves that they need to open up the BAE, would be worth getting. That wasn't a sentence, but here we go. Here are my buyout options. Obviously, we have Bradley Beal. Here are the other guys who I think could potentially be bought out or have been rumored to maybe be on the buyout market soon. Outside of Bradley Beal, there's Cole Anthony. I'm not sure why this hasn't been done yet by the Memphis Grizzlies. Obviously, there's Marcus Smart with the recent Miami Heat deal. Kevin Love is rumored to be bought out. I don't want Kevin Love. I'm actually more interested in Kyle Anderson. I don't think there's rumors about Kyle Anderson being bought out, but I don't know. We could use a 6'9" forward, even though he's slow as hell. I mean, Slow-Mo is his nickname. Yusuf Nurkic, what the hell is he doing? What the hell are any of the veteran guys doing on the Utah Jazz? I think the Utah Jazz are finding out that they probably held on to all of their productive veterans for too long, and they got nothing in return for them. So Yusuf Nurkic, what if he gets bought out? I don't know. He's probably still a good backup. And then KJ Martin. The Utah Jazz may want to get in on this Quentin Grimes sign and trade fiasco. And in order to do that, they have to get further beneath whatever apron or salary cap they're at. I think it's the salary cap, actually. And in order to do that, they can just waive KJ Martin's non-guaranteed $8 million. If KJ Martin becomes available, the Lakers should absolutely sign that guy. Whether it's the BAE or a portion of the BAE, we need to continue to pump up our athleticism, our conditioning up and down in transition. KJ Martin, I've been saying this over and over. KJ Martin, to me, you can mold into the next Josh Hart. Okay, so I would absolutely do it for KJ Martin. The Wizards still have guys like Rashawn Holmes, who's on a non-guaranteed deal. Kelly Olynyk, they just traded for, but maybe he gets a buyout. Like, these are all the guys that I could see the Lakers sort of just like waiting on, because they're not in a rush. If it's not for Bradley Beal, don't do anything. You don't need to open up the BAE right now. You know? And if they actually absolutely had to do it, they can. They just waive Jordan Goodwin, and all of a sudden you have it. All right, let me see. I will answer one question, so the super chat first, and then I'll take it to break, and then I'll talk more about what I think the Lakers will do with their BAE, and then we'll also go over some roster consolidation trade stuff as well. From Vinny, thanks Vinny for the super chat. Let me show his comment. Oops. All right, thoughts on Wiggins trade without Rui Hachimura. So, Vinny, you're saying if the Lakers are able to trade for Wiggins without, so it would essentially be, I think, Gabe Vincent, Maxi Kleber, and probably like Dalton Connect, right? If we can get Andrew Wiggins without giving up, I mean, okay, let's say Dalton Connect is the asset that we have to attach to Gabe Vincent, Maxi Kleber, and I believe we probably still need Shake Milton's contract to make the salaries work. So essentially the question is, would I do a Dalton Connect and expiring salary ballast for Andrew Wiggins trade while Rui gets kept on the roster? I think I would. I'm not sure if the Lakers would, because Andrew Wiggins has a $30 million player option for next season. And next season, I know fans don't want to hear this. I'm just trying to explain it to you guys. But whenever the Lakers are talking about the 2027 plan, they're not actually talking about free agency 2027. They're just talking about maintaining cap flexibility in the next 2 years to not necessarily sign a guy in free agency, because those days of being able to sign like a max player, like a legitimate max superstar, are over. Guys are getting extended and then traded. People are trading for their star players. I think the Lakers know that. And so what they're actually trying to do, and if you guys have listened to LFR Pod, Pete outlined this perfectly. I agree with him 100%. I think the Lakers are actually trying to set themselves up to trade for the next superstar in 2026 or 2027. So it's not necessarily 2027 free agency plan is not necessarily let's clear a bunch of cap space to sign somebody, because these days, these days the guys who are signing are kind of washed up guys like Paul George, otherwise you have to trade for your next superstar essentially. And so I think that's what the Lakers are trying to do. Does Andrew Wiggins, who has a player option for next year, hinder that plan? I think you can flip Andrew Wiggins, so I don't think it hinders it, but I don't know. I'm just trying to put my mind into the Lakers front office's head. I would not give up a first for Andrew Wiggins, Vinny. We cannot mortgage. We can't mortgage our future in that way, because I don't trust Andrew Wiggins. He reminds me, he's a little bit DeAndre Ayton in terms of spaciness. He'll have one good year. I mean, he won a championship, and then the next year, who knows what's going on with him? He waxes and wanes. Ideally, on paper, he has everything you'd want in a wing, right? But I think we've seen over the last couple of years, it's been very inconsistent, whether like it's a mental off-court thing that's going on or his play and motor, it's just the engagement is just not there. So I would not be trading. I definitely wouldn't be trading Rui a first and Dalton Connect for him. I wouldn't be trading the first. I would be okay with trading Dalton Connect, maybe. But even that, I'm like, I don't know. Imagine Dalton Connect with Miami's player development system, eventually learning how to play defense and just averaging 20 points rolling out of bed. So yeah, I think that's kind of where I stand on that. So, okay. before I get on with talking about like what I think the Lakers will do with their BAE and some roster consolidation trade stuff, before we get into those options, we've got a partner promo to read. And I first want to talk to you guys about a new book by author Carl Barney about something we all strive for and something we all need this offseason: happiness. You weren't born to coast through life. You were born to feel alive, to wake up with energy, to live a life that excites you. The new book, The Happiness Experiment, is the tool to help you do just that. It's not fluff. It's a practical system to help you find your unique version of joy, meaning, and drive. It's time to stop surviving. It's time to start thriving. If you want to learn more, take a few minutes at the end of this podcast and listen to an interview about the happiness experiment and how you can bring it to life. Discover your unique happiness type by taking the free assessment at myhappinnesstype.com. That's myhappinnesstype.com. Then grab your copy of The Happiness Experiment at booksamillion.com. That's booksamillion.com. I don't think I was actually supposed to spell that out. I think they just wanted me to slow my read down. Anyways, that's our promo read of the day. Thank you to Profluence and The Happiness Experiment. Okay, so back to what I was talking about. The BAE. I don't think the Lakers are going to necessarily use their BAE on anyone unless it's someone like Bradley Beal or someone who unexpectedly gets bought out near the tail end of the training camp, near the tail end of the summer as we near training camp. So again, someone like Kelly Olynyk, yeah. And the reason why, by the way, guys, I think the Lakers will actually take the BAE into the season and keep it as a traded player exception, because right now they are not in a rush to do anything. Because again, the NBA free agency world is waiting on Bradley Beal. And number two, there are not many great options out right now. Again, BAE worthy players. Who are we looking at from this list that we won't be able to convince to get the veteran minimum exception anyways? So not worth it. We don't need, and guys, I'm telling you, okay, I'm kind of going everywhere right now. So I think I'll jump here first. Sorry, just kind of follow me. I know fans want Rob to do a roster consolidation trade and dump Gabe Vincent and Maxi Kleber so that we can open up a roster spot. The Lakers should not do that unless it's for somebody that's worth it. Would you guys? And I'll tell you why. Maxi Kleber and Gabe Vincent at $11 million and $11.5 million are valuable expiring salary ballast. You do not want to willy-nilly just salary dump them. And by the way, what asset are you using to salary dump them? You don't want to just salary dump them in order to, one, open up enough cap space to get the full BAE. You're only $1.2 million behind. And then two, you don't want to do that just to open up a roster spot, because there's an opportunity cost here. If you're trading Gabe Vincent's $11.5 million just to salary dump him, just to use $5.1 million, then you waste the additional $6 million on his contract that you can trade away later, because you're going to get in a new BAE guy. Let's use Bradley Beal, for example. Okay, we have Bradley Beal at $5.1 million. Can you necessarily flip Bradley Beal near the trade deadline? Because Gabe, Maxi are our keys to getting a starter level player or a fringe starter level player near the training camp, near trade deadline. I know people don't want to hear it, but clearly the trade market is not ripe for the Lakers this offseason. And you may blame Rob Pelinka, but he was talking about doing trades this entire time and he wasn't able to do any trade. Well, I'm sorry, no trade is better than a bad trade. And right now we're in the bad trade zone. Okay. And so fans are so antsy to want to just open up a roster spot and use the BAE that they want to dump Gabe Vincent and dump Maxi Kleber just to sign Chris Boucher to $5.1 million. We should absolutely not do that. If you can give me a valid name who's worth the BAE and us doing all of those things, sure, I'm down, but I haven't seen that name. you know? And again, we can just cut Jordan Goodwin is what I'm trying to say. But to my point, Maxi Kleber and Gabe Vincent are valuable, not only because they make $11 million, $11.5 million, but because you can combine their salaries and get a player worth $22.5 plus million later at the trade deadline. If you just salary dump them, and again, I don't know what asset you're using to salary dump them, then you miss out on all of that salary ballast money. The other reason why they're valuable is because they don't really matter to the Lakers roster. If we lose Gabe Vincent's salary ballast, if we lose Maxi Kleber's salary ballast, all of a sudden, anybody we trade is likely going to be someone that's a part of our rotation. So yes, Rui Hachimura all of a sudden has to go out. Yes, all of a sudden, well, I guess that's the only really valuable piece left, right? So yeah, that's why I would not rush to dump Gabe Vincent and Maxi Kleber unless we're actually getting back a player that we want. So for example, I'll give you a trade that I would do. Gabe Vincent, Maxi Kleber, I don't know what else we have to attach. Okay, let's say Dalton Connect. For Matisse Thybulle and let's say Robert Williams, something like this, where we do like a 3-for-2 swap, open up a roster spot, get a little bit of money back. Unless we're getting actual players that can play for us back for Gabe and Maxi, I would not just dump them to open up a roster spot, if that makes any sense. But if we're getting Matisse Thybulle and Robert Williams, and all we had to give up was Dalton Connect, yeah, I would do something like that. So yeah, that's why I would not. That's why I don't think a roster consolidation trade is necessarily coming, because I don't see opening up the BAE as some dire thing that the Lakers need to do, if that makes any sense. And so back to my BAE point, and the Lakers potentially using that as a traded player exception into the season, I'm okay with them not using the BAE. And I'll go over my reasonings again. I'm sorry if this is getting a little bit redundant, but number one, I'm okay with them not using the BAE because outside of Bradley Beal and Al Horford, if he decides not to retire, there are not many players on the market left worth the BAE, number one. Number two, it's better for the Lakers to remain patient because this offseason, the buyout market pool is actually pretty rich and we could get more players. Again, I'm going to throw out the, I'm going to put up this slide. We could get guys like Kelly Olynyk, KJ Martin, Yusuf Nurkic, who assess their situation in the summer and ask their teams to buy them out like near training camp. It would be wise for the Lakers to still have the BAE or the option to open up the full BAE at that time versus jumping to, we really got to sign Precious Achiuwa. We don't need to do that. We can wait. You know, this is why, if you guys remember, like 2 years ago, remember when we waited like a month and a half for Christian Wood to sign and eventually the Lakers got him? It's probably going to play out exactly like that. And so too, another reason why I'm okay with the Lakers not using the BAE and why I don't think a roster consolidation trade is necessarily coming immediately or it's that dire is because the longer they wait, the pool is going to widen in terms of the buyout guys. And we've seen that already. Like Jordan Clarkson got bought out. You know, John Collins got traded to the Clippers, but my God, like they got nothing back. And like he was nearing a buyout. So I think patience is a virtue this offseason is what I'm trying to say. And then the third reason why, the MLE as a TPE example. I should be clear, the Lakers cannot combine the 5.1 million BAE with another player to like, you know, come up with a bigger salary ballast package, but they can use it on its own as a way for teams to dump like a $5 million salary slot that they don't want, or a $5 million player to open up a roster spot on their team that they don't want. And so some examples from last season of teams that actually use their exceptions as traded player exceptions. And by exceptions, I mean the room exception, the BAE, the taxpayer exception, the non-taxpayer exception. So that's what I mean about taking in the new CBA, teams are now allowed to use their mid-level exception if they don't use it as a traded player exception heading into the season. And last year, Very few teams actually use their taxpayer MLE of about $5.6 million. So this is not an oddity. This is not some sort of Rob Pelinka's a dumbass sort of thing. This is just shrewd flexibility sort of stuff. After the first wave of free agency dies down, there is really no incentive and there's no rush to do anything. Everybody's waiting, you know? So because of that, here are some examples of MLE as TPE reference points from last season. So last season, the Utah Jazz, ironically, used their, I believe they used their TPE. They used a portion of their room mid-level exception last year to acquire Jalen Hood-Schifino as part of that three-team deal with the Dallas Mavericks to get Luka Doncic. For us, it was a salary dump, but for the Utah Jazz, they acquired JHS and the second-round pick that came along with him. So they were able to get an asset. The Sacramento Kings actually used the bulk of their non-taxpayer MLE last season. They didn't use it in the offseason of 2024. They had it with them throughout the season. And when it came time to trade for a guy like Jonas Valanciunas, they used a bulk of their non-taxpayer MLE to acquire Jonas Valanciunas just straight off the bat. The Houston Rockets also used their non-taxpayer MLE, which they carried with them into the season, to acquire Jaden Springer, Cody Zeller, along with a second-round pick for both of those guys. So they got 2 second-round picks just for being like a salary dump spot for a team, because they were able to acquire like $5.6 million or a little more than $5.6 million without giving up anything. All right. I think I froze a little bit. But yeah, the Houston Rockets were also able to use the full amount of their non-taxpayer MLE to acquire Jaden Springer and Cody Zeller, and they got 2 seconds just by doing that. Now, these trades don't sound exciting, I know, but to give you guys a more concrete example of what the Lakers can do for players that could actually help, like they could wait out the Nick Richards trade thing. And by training camp, maybe Nick Richards' camp tells the Suns, hey, I don't see a future here. I don't want to play behind Malawach and Mark Williams. Can you do us a solid and negotiate a buyout with us? Or not a buyout, sorry. Can you do us a solid and just trade us? At that point, the Lakers would still have their BAE to use, you know? And then they could just trade Nick Richards into that exception. I don't have the list of like guys who are making like $5 million handy right now, but guys in the Nick Richards sort of vein. And again, they can also just use this amount later on down the line. Like let's say another guy gets bought out. The Lakers would then, because they still have their BAE, they would then be able to outspend some other teams who have already used up that exception. So that's why I don't necessarily think the Lakers are going to use their BAE. And I have it on the chart here at the bottom. But last season, here are the teams that didn't use any of their exceptions. The taxpayer MLE, the room MLE, the BAE, Boston, the Lakers, Cleveland, Milwaukee, Minnesota, New York, Phoenix, Portland, Detroit, Orlando. None of these teams used their exceptions and brought it with them into the season. It's becoming more and more of a common thing to not use your exception. And that sucks for the free agents who are looking for any sort of new contract. And, you know, blame CJ McCollum and the new CBA for this, because it's really pinching out a bunch of guys who normally would be mid-level BAE like worthy players, but now they're having to settle for, I don't know, training camp invites and veteran minimum contracts. Again, like I don't even know if these guys are BAE guys. Bradley Beal we know, but Chris Boucher, Precious Achiuwa, DeAnthony Melton coming off an ACL, Amir Coffey, like who are they? Like they can't even really demand getting BAE money because these teams know who am I competing with, you know, for your services. Just come for the veteran minimum. So I say all this to say you don't need to panic. No, Rob Pelinka is not a good GM, but the way that some of you make him sound every day is bizarre as hell. It's exhausting what we've had to go through this summer with where every little news item that comes out from the Lakers is like, Rob Pelinka, goddammit, you know, like, guys, that's not It is the case for some things, but it's not the case for everything. Like the DFS thing that came out today. Oh, DFS non-guaranteed for the 3rd and 4th year. Guess what, guys? I'm pretty sure the Lakers offered him that exact same contract, but he did not like the way that negotiations went down. And also, I'm pretty sure Rob Pelinka, before free agency, knew exactly the fact that DeAndre Ayton was going to get bought out. Why? Because his agent is Bill Duffy, Luka Doncic's agent. So the Lakers, in their head, already decided, hey, it might not be the worst thing if DFS just walks, not only because of his age, but because we have this new opportunity in front of us to get DeAndre Ayton. And by the way, I don't see anybody giving Rob credit for also splitting the non-taxpayer MLE up and getting 2 guys, because a lot of you guys thought that the non-taxpayer MLE was going to 1 guy, DeAndre Ayton. But Rob all of a sudden split it. The first time he split it in an offseason, I've been clamoring for him to do so, but he finally did it this offseason, and he was able to get a really smart, young, gritty wing. He's not explosive, he's not athletic, but he can do a little bit of everything. He was able to get that type of wing at 23 years old who still has a little bit of upside in Jake LaRavia. We got Jake LaRavia and DeAndre Ayton. If it helps you guys mentally to sort of wrap your head around this offseason, like just view Jake LaRavia as the BAE signing and DeAndre Ayton as the non-taxpayer MLE signing. If I had told you that at the end of the summer without telling you the specifics about how all this went down, a lot of Lakers fans probably would have said, okay, that makes sense. We got Jake LaRavia on the BAE for 5.1. Great. 1 second. Sorry, my dog did not like my little Rob Pelinka diatribe. Okay. Hold on. Let's wait a second. Yeah, so I say all that to say, I'm pretty sure the Lakers front office knows things that we don't behind the scenes. That sounds so obvious, but the way a lot of Lakers Nation reacts to news without truly understanding the cap, without truly being informed, is so wild to me. Yeah, dog hates Jake LaRavia. Is that Tommy, my podcast host? But yeah, let's wait till the dust settles. Let's wait till all of this plays out, because we did this. I mean, we've done this every step along the way this summer. We did this during draft day 1 of the draft. Rob Pelinka can't even goddamn get a 2nd round pick. And then what did he do day 2? He moved 19 spots up to number 36, and all he had to give up was cash. Meanwhile, what did the Orlando Magic do to move up? They gave up 4 2nd round picks. I do not see people crediting Rob for doing that. And then fast forward to free agency. Everybody's losing their goddamn heads and minds over the fact that DeAndre Ayton hasn't been announced. But who was the other guy who got announced after getting bought out immediately after? I forget who that guy was, but people were losing their minds that DeAndre Ayton, if this deal had been agreed to beforehand, why hasn't DeAndre Ayton announced his signing with the Lakers? People were losing their minds. Guess what? The Lakers got Jake LaRavia and DeAndre Ayton. It's going to be okay. Again, Rob Pelinka, not a great GM. The sooner that we can replace him for a smarter basketball mind like Bob Myers, the better. But to act like this dude, it feels like we're back to 2019-20 when, if you remember, before we signed Danny Green and KCP and made the Anthony Davis trade, everybody, including ESPN, was running with the story that Rob Pelinka doesn't know the cap. I feel like the rhetoric and discourse around Rob Pelinka right now amongst fans who don't really know the cap, who don't really know what's going on, who don't really know what an implicit no trade clause is or was, the same implicit no trade clause that Jackson Hayes waived, because I'm guessing Rob Pelinka told him to waive it. Yeah, the fans are just losing their minds upon everything. And so it's just calm down. There's a lot of things to hammer Rob about. Don't hammer him about an implicit no trade clause from Jackson Hayes. Don't hammer him about not giving Adou Thiero the full 4 years guaranteed rookie minimum. Guys, he's guaranteed to 3 years. He's guaranteed to 2 years with a team option on the 3rd year. The Lakers have full control over that dude. This is not a Max Christie situation where he's only locked up for 2 years and then another team can poison pill him the next summer. We were well past that because of Rob Pelinka's tomfoolery in the past with that. They literally created this like second round pick Rob Pelinka exception because of the dumbass stuff that he did with Max Christie, THT, putting them on the market sooner than they had to be. But guess what? The Adou Thiero being on for 3 years with a team option on the third, totally different than those 2 years things, than that 2-year exception thing. But I feel like fans are so sort of riled up that they're looking for any excuse to pile on. And to that, I'd say, just chill out, guys. It's going to be okay. Don't need to pop a vessel with regards to freaking Rob Pelinka. He's not really worth popping a vessel for. And just use common sense at the end of the day. If you have a question about something, DM me. I'll try and explain it. Or DM Yosi. He knows much more about the cap than I do. But judging from the stuff that I see on my timeline, I know a hell of a lot more than some of the people that are complaining about stuff that they know nothing about. And that's not me bragging or anything. It's just, I've been doing this for, I mean, Tommy knows this. We've been doing it. Tommy's in the chat or he's watching or something. We've been doing this for like 15 years at this point. There was a period in time when before salary cap knowledge was readily available for people, Tommy was creating his own salary cap sheets and we were passing it around back and forth and updating our numbers, et cetera, before Twitter was a thing. So we have a little bit of knowledge into these things and we try and stay level-headed. But hey, I mean, fans, fanatics, I get it. It's in the name. Do you? And yeah, that'll do it because I have to get back to work, believe it or not. I do remote work, but I do have to get back to work. So hope you guys learned something new, insightful in this live. And thank you guys for watching. As usual, follow us on X at Lakers Legacy Pod. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Lakers Legacy Pod. And yeah, I will catch you guys next time. This has been Jonathan Hernandez of the Lakers Legacy Podcast, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace. Hit the like button. Comment down below as Tulip Plays says. Cool. Thanks, guys.